format paragraphs. Format paragraphs. What about format paragraphs? Format paragraphs, for point type, each line is a separate paragraph. And for paragraph type, each paragraph, by the way, can have multiple lines depending on the dimensions of the bounding box. And you can also select paragraphs and then use the paragraph panel to set formatting options for a single paragraph and multiple paragraphs, or all paragraphs in a type layer. And also, you should select the horizontal type tool or the vertical type tool. And to apply formatting to a single paragraph, click in paragraph. And to apply formatting to multiple paragraphs, you should make a selection within a range of paragraphs. And to apply formatting to all paragraphs in the layer, you should select the type layer in the layers panel. And what about paragraph panel overview? Paragraph panel overview. By the way, you can use the paragraph panel to change the formatting of columns and paragraphs. To display the panel and choose window, then choose paragraph. Or click the paragraph panel tab if the panel is visible but not active. And you can also select a type tool and click the panel button in the options bar. And to set options with numeric values in the paragraph panel, you can use the up and down arrows to or edit the value directly in the text box. And when you edit a value directly, press enter or return to apply a value, and shift enter or shift return to apply a value, and then highlight the value just edited, by the way. Or tap to apply a value and move to the next text box in the panel, like the next screenshot now. The next image now explain for you paragraph and how to choose paragraph panel. And you have A and B and C and D and E and F and G. And A is meaning alignment and justification, and B left indent, and C first line left indent, and D is space before paragraph, and E hyphenation, and F right indent, and G space after paragraph. And you can also access additional comments and options in the paragraph panel menu, by the way. And to use this menu, you should click the triangle in the upper right corner of the panel. And also, how to specify alignment. How to specify alignment here. By the way, you can align type to one edge of a paragraph, and left and center or right for horizontal type, or top center or bottom for vertical type. And alignment options are available, by the way, only for paragraph type. And you have steps. Step number 1, you should select a type layer firstly if you want all the paragraphs in that type layer to be affected. Step number 2, you should select the paragraphs you want affected. And step number 2, in the paragraph panel or options bar, you should click alignment option. And the options for horizontal type are, we have options here now, many options, like left align text. Left align text is meaning aligns type to the left and leaving the right edge of the paragraph raised. And center text is meaning aligns type to the center and leaving both edges of the paragraph raised. And right align text is meaning aligns type to right and leaving the left edge of the paragraph raised. And the options for vertical type are, and we have top align text. Top align text is meaning aligns type to the top and leaving the bottom edge of the paragraph raised. After that, center text. Center text is meaning aligns type to the center and leaving both the top and bottom edges of the paragraph raised. And what about bottom align text? Bottom align text is meaning aligns type to the bottom and leaving the top edge of the paragraph raised. And how to specify? How to specify justification for paragraph type? How to specify justification for paragraph type? By the way, text is said to be justified when it's aligned with both edges, and you can choose to justify all text in a paragraph excluding the last line, and or you can justify text in a paragraph including the last line, by the way. And this the setting you choose for justification affects the horizontal spacing of lines and the aesthetic appeal of type on a page. Justification options, by the way, are available only for paragraph type and determine word and letter and glyph spacing, and justification setting apply only to Roman characters and double bytes and double byte characters available actually in Chinese and Japanese, and Korean's fonts are not affected by this setting. And we have steps. Step number 1, you should select a type layer if you want all the paragraphs in the type layer to be affected. And then select the paragraphs you want affected. Step number 2. In the paragraph panel, click a justification option, and the options for horizontal type are, we have options here now. Justify last left. Justify last left is meaning justifies all lines except the last which is left aligned. And justify last centered is meaning justifies all lines except the last and which is center aligned. And justify last right is meaning justifies all lines except the last which is right aligned. And justify all is meaning justifies all lines including the last which is fourth justified. And the options for vertical type are, justify last top is meaning justifies all lines except the last and which is top aligned. And justify last centered is meaning justifies all lines except the last and which is center aligned. And justify last bottom. Justify last bottom is meaning justifies all lines except the last and which is bottom justified. And justify all is meaning justifies all lines including the last and which is fourth justified. Note here please now, justification like right or center and left align and justify all for type on a path starts at the insertion point and ends at the end of the path. So what about adjust word? Adjust word and letter spacing in justified text. Adjust word and letter spacing in justified text. By the way, you can precisely control how Photoshop spaces letters and words and scales characters, and adjusting spacing is especially useful with justified type. And also you can adjust spacing for unjustified type, by the way. And you have steps. Step number 1, you should select the paragraphs you want affected firstly, or select a type layer if you want all the paragraphs in the type layer to be affected. Step number 2, you should choose justification from the paragraph panel menu. And after that, step number 3, values, enter values. Enter values for word spacing and letter spacing and glyph scaling, and the minimum and maximum values, by the way, define a range of acceptable spacing for justified paragraphs only, and the desired value defines the desired spacing for both justified and unjustified paragraphs. And what about word spacing? Word spacing, by the way, is meaning the space between words that results from pressing the space bar, and word spacing values can range, by the way, from 0% to 1000% at 100%, and no additional space is added between words. So what's the meaning of letter spacing? Letter spacing is meaning that the distance between letters and including kerning, including or tracking values, and the letter spacing values can range from -100% to 500%. And at 0%, no space, by the way, is added between letters at 100%. And an entire space wide is added between letters, by the way. And what about glyph scaling? Glyph scaling is meaning the size of characters, and a glyph is any font character, and the values can range from 50% to 200%. At 100%, the height of characters is not scaled, by the way, and the spacing options are always applied to an entire paragraph, and to adjust the spacing in a few characters, but not an entire paragraph. Use the tracking option, by the way. So what about indent paragraphs? Indent paragraphs is meaning indentation specifies the amount of space between type and the bounding box or line that contains the type, and indentation affects only the selected paragraph or paragraphs, and so you can easily set different indentions for paragraphs. And we have steps. Step number 1, you should select a type layer firstly if you want all the paragraphs in the type layer to be affected, and after that select the paragraphs you want affected. Step number 2, in the paragraph panel you should enter a value for an indentation options, and we have options here now. Indent left margin. Indent left margin is meaning indents from the left edge of the paragraph. For vertical type, this option, by the way, controls the indentation from the top of the paragraph. And after that, second option, indent right margin. Indent right margin is meaning indents from the right edge of the paragraph, and for vertical type, this option, by the way, controls the indentation from the bottom of the paragraph. And the third option is indent first line. Indent first line is meaning indents the first line of type in the paragraph, and for horizontal type, and the first line indent is relative to the left indent, and for vertical type the first line indent is relative to the top indent. And to create a first line hanging indent, enter a negative value, by the way. So what about adjust paragraph spacing? Adjust the paragraph spacing is meaning we have steps, two steps here now. Step number one, you should select the paragraphs you want affected only, firstly, or select a type layer if you want all the paragraphs in that type layer to be affected. And if you don't insert the cursor in a paragraph or select a type layer, the setting applies to new text you create, by the way. And the second step number two, in the paragraph panel, adjust the values for add space before paragraph and add space after paragraph. How to specify hanging punctuation for Roman fonts. How to specify hanging punctuation for Roman fonts. Hanging punctuation controls, by the way, the alignment of punctuation marks for a specific paragraph. And when Roman hanging punctuation is turned on, the following character appear outside the margin, by the way, and the single quotes, double quotes, and apostrophes, and commas, and periods, and hyphens, em dashes, and en dashes, and colons, and semicolons. And when a punctuation character is followed a quotation mark, both characters hang, by the way. And you should keep in mind that, please, keep in mind that paragraph alignment determines the margin from which the punctuation hangs. And for left aligned, for right aligned paragraphs, and the punctuation hangs off, and the left and right margin, respectively, for top aligned and bottom aligned paragraphs, and the punctuation hangs off the top and bottom margin, respectively, for centered and justified paragraphs, by the way, and the punctuation hangs off both margins. Like the next image now, the next screenshot now, paragraph without hanging punctuation in the left side, and in the right side compared to paragraph with hanging punctuation, with and without. And you have steps. Step number one, you should select a type layer if you want all the paragraphs in that type layer to be affected actually successfully. And after that, select the paragraphs you want affected. Step number two, you should choose Roman hanging punctuation from the paragraph panel menu, and a check mark indicates that the options is selected. And note here, please, now, double byte punctuation mark available in Chinese and Japanese and Korean fonts in the selected range will not hang when you use Roman hanging punctuation, and instead use either Burgery standard or Burgery strong. These items, by the way, are available only if you select show Asian text options in the type preferences. And what about adjust hyphenation automatically? Adjust hyphenation automatically. The setting you choose for hyphenation affect the horizontal spacing of lines and the aesthetic appeal of type on a page. And hyphenation, by the way, options determine whether words can be hyphenated, and if so, what breaks are allowable. We have steps. Step number one, to use automatic hyphenation, do any of the following. To turn automatic hyphenation on or off, you should select or deselect the hyphenate option in the paragraph panel, firstly. And after that, to apply hyphenation to specific paragraphs, first select only the paragraphs that you want to affect. After that, to choose a hyphenation dictionary, you should choose a language from the language menu at the bottom of the character panel. Step number two, to specify options, you should choose hyphenation from the paragraph panel menu, firstly, and specify the following options. And we have many options here now. Words longer than letters. Its meaning specifies the minimum number of characters for hyphenated words. And after first letters and before last letters, its meaning specifies the minimum number of characters at the beginning or end of a word that can be broken by a hyphen. For example, by specifying 3 for these values, and aromatic would be hyphenated as aromatic instead of aromatic or aromatic. And what about hyphen limit? Hyphen limit is meaning specifies the maximum number of consecutive lines on which hyphenation may occur. And what's the meaning of hyphenation zone? Hyphenation zone is meaning it specifies a distance from the right edge of a paragraph, demarcating a portion of the line where hyphenation is not allowed, and a setting of 0 allows all hyphenation. This option, by the way, applies only when you use the Adobe single line composer. And what about hyphenate? Capitalized words. It's meaning deselect to prevent capitalized words from being hyphenated. And hyphenation setting apply only to Roman characters, by the way, and double page characters available in Chinese and Japanese and Korean fonts are not affected by this setting. And what about prevent words from breaking? Prevent words from breaking is meaning you can prevent, by the way, you can prevent words from breaking at the end of lines. And for example, proper names or words that could be misread when hyphenated, and you can also keep multiple words or groups of words together. For example, clusters of initials and a last name. We have two steps. Step number 1, you should select the characters you want to prevent from breaking. Step number 2, choose no break from the character panel menu, and do not here and be careful. If you apply the no break option to too many adjacent characters, the text may wrap in the middle of a word. However, if you apply the no break options to more than a single line of text, none of the text will appear. So what about composition methods? Composition methods is meaning that the appearance of type on the page depends on a complex interaction of process called composition, and using the word spacing and letter spacing, glyph, by the way, spacing and hyphenation options you have selected. Adobe applications, if you evaluate possible line breaks and choose the one that best supports the specified parameters. And you can also choose between two combination methods and the Adobe every line composer and the Adobe single line composer both methods evaluate possible breaks and choose the one that best supports the hyphenation and justification options you have specified for a given paragraph. And the composition method affects only the selected paragraph, by the way, or paragraphs, and this you can easily set different composition methods for different paragraphs. So what about every line composer? Every line composer is meaning that every line composer considers a network of breakpoints for a range of lines, and thus can optimize earlier lines in the paragraph in order to eliminate especially unattractive breaks later on. And the every line composer approaches composition by identifying possible breakpoints, evaluating them, and assigning a weighted penalty based on the following principles, like for left or right or center, and align text, and lines that fall closer to the right side are favored and have a lower penalty, by the way. And for justified text, the highest importance is given to evenness of letter and word spacing, by the way, and hyphenation is avoided when possible. So what about single line composer? Single line composer is meaning the single line composer offers a traditional approach to composing type one line at a time. This option, by the way, is useful if you want manual control over how lines break. And the single line composer uses the following principles when considering a break point. And longer lines are favored over shorter lines. And in justified text, compressed or expanded word spacing is preferable to hyphenation. And in the non-justified text, hyphenation is preferable to compressed or expanded letter spacing, by the way. And if spacing must be adjusted, compression is better than explanation. And to choose one of these methods, by the way, select it from the paragraph panel menu to apply the method to all paragraphs. First select the type object to apply the method to the current paragraph only, and first insert the cursor in the paragraph. And so what about paragraph styles? Paragraph styles is meaning a paragraph style includes both character and paragraph formatting attributes and can be applied to paragraph or a range of paragraphs, and you can create paragraph styles and then apply them later. And you have to choose window, then you choose paragraph styles to open the paragraph styles panel. And by default, each new document, by the way, contains a basic paragraph style that is applied to text you type, and you can edit this style also, but you can't rename or delete it. And you can rename and delete styles that you create, and you can also select a different default style to apply to text. To apply a paragraph style, you should select the text or text layer and then click a paragraph style. And the type styles are hierarchical, manual overrides, superset any applied character styles, and which in turn replace applied paragraph styles. This hierarchical approach lets you, by the way, combine the efficiency of styles with the flexibility to customize your designs. And how to create a paragraph style? How to create a paragraph styles? We have two steps. If you want to base a new style on the formatting of existing text, you should select that text or place the insertion point in it. Step number 2. You should choose the new paragraph style from the paragraph styles panel menu, and not here in this point, please. To create a style without first selecting text, click the Create New Style icon at the bottom of the paragraph styles panel. To edit a style without applying it to text, select an image layer, such as the background. And how to edit a paragraph style? How to edit paragraph style? You should double-click existing styles to edit them and update all associated text in the current document, actually. And when you change the formatting of a style, all text, by the way, to which the style has been applied will be updated with the new format. And to edit a paragraph style, do one of the following. We have steps. Step number 1, double-click the style in the paragraph style panel. Step number 2, to specify the formatting attributes, you should click a category, such as basic character formats, on the left and specify the attributes to add to the style. Step number 3, when specifying a character color in the style options dialog box, you can create a new color by double-clicking the fill or stroke box. Step number 4, when you have finished specifying the formatting attributes, you should click OK. Thank you.